Everything I do is off the cusp. Whether it was the podcast episodes I recorded, the books I write, the blog posts I create, and even these videos. I have an idea and I go with it because it means something to me. And when I feel strongly about something, I have to talk about it. With writing, you get to sort of mold it and sculpture the words to um, create a refined piece of work, really. So it's really the message you really want to say when you talk in person, or sometimes maybe it ain't quite as refined, but I still think it gets to the point. I quite enjoy talking, really, and it's when I consider my career path, I always kept thinking it's going to be writing, writing, writing. But I think when you think of yourself as a whole, my strength is actually when I'm talking. When I'm talking, I can talk forever, and it's like in most jobs, it's a hindrance, isn't it? People don't like it, but it's a big part of who we are. And I'd say that if you like communicating, I think that's a strength. It shouldn't be considered a weakness. If anything, jobs stifle us. I recently wrote a blog post about jobs and career because it gets lost on so many people. The job I do pays incredibly well, and it's a career for life for most people. It's not really a job that most people leave. It's one that you do stay for life because it's a because it's a water company. So if we're a water company, it's always going to be work, isn't there? So it's not something you have to worry about. But for me, it's a means to an end. So where to people it's a career, to me it's a job. And that's what I say, the difference is quite big, really, between a job and a career. The career doesn't have to be the job you're doing, and it certainly isn't for me. The career is the thing I'm building. So with the videos I'm doing now, the podcast I created, the audiobooks, the writing, it's all molding and sculpturing into the career I want to do, and it's the thing I'm building myself. It's independent of a job. The job is not my career, and it's certain I wouldn't ever feel satisfied if it was, because it's not an area I want to pursue for the rest of my life. If I got positions of responsibility that went far beyond what I'm doing at work, and like a management all the way up to upper management, that wouldn't even fulfill me. It's like, yeah, you'd be proud that you got the opportunity and proud you're doing it, but overall, it's like, does it fulfill me? No, it doesn't. It's still not the thing I dream of, and if it's not the thing I dream of, what am I doing? So the best I can do is consider it as a way to finance my sort of liberation, freedom in the process of creating and sculpturing my career. And that's how I see jobs. But too many people see the job as their career and they get stuck in it. You always follow your heart and don't give up. There's a friend at work who he's a self-proclaimed pessimist and I'm an optimist. So, like for instance, I create my books and I do what I do, but I do it because I enjoy it. Whether anyone reads it or buys it, or it's irrelevant. I create because I love. I create because I have something to say, and it's like I say, it's therapeutic for me as well. So even if no one ever read anything I ever did or even watched these videos, it doesn't change the fact that I'm going to continue creating because it's what I do. But from his point of view, it's not really worth it if you're not really getting any success or any immediate gains. So what he said was, because I said the principles matter to me. It means an awful lot. It's like everything. And he says, principles don't get you paid. And I said, touche, because, of course, it does create an unstable life. But I think without principles, we have no guidance. We have no self-compass. So what I would say is these same people who say things like that and they seemingly have their head screwed on, well, I may be a bit unhinged at times, they're not happy. You can see it in them. They're not happy. They're exhausted. And, that's a problem, isn't it? Because we put all our weight and expectation into that financial freedom, but you find that they're not even happy. They're not even happy. So then you'd say, well, what's the point of that then? What's the point of just succumbing to what is, and just saying, this is the best I can have, this is what I'm going to do. And it's like, but you're miserable. That's not enough for me. That's not enough for me. I could be quite comfortable in poverty, trying to strive for more. That's me. That's me. I won't ever give up. I won't give up on a dream, because I won't accept mediocrity. I won't accept it. There was a job I was doing recently at work, a task, and it was just so monotonous. And I'm thinking, what a waste of my time. I could be at home writing my books. I could create projects. I could be investing in me. I'm standing there doing this boring task that a monkey could do, all because of the financial reward of money. Of course, it's means and ends, but you just think time-wise, what a waste. And that bothers me. It bothers me a lot. It bothers me more than it bothers anyone else. Again, I think of things more. Time is probably more precious than money. In fact, when I say probably, it is. Time is the one thing we don't get back. You can always acquire money. So I think the times when you're miserable, the times when you're stagnating, the times when you're frustrated, it's up to us to take action towards growing out of it. Like, for instance, this job I do pays an incredible sort of salary. It's the most I've ever had. But I will be leaving, that much I'm sure of, because it's just not satisfying me. And it's draining my soul, because it's like I should be doing something more positive. I should be doing something that elevates me and liberates me and makes me really excited and invigorated. It doesn't do that. It just stifles growth. So yeah, I just continue pushing forward, and I don't care if I struggle financially. I've done that most of my life, But what I would say is those times when I'm struggling financially, I'm actually more happy, because I'm free. I have to be free. I can't be caged animal being fed chunks of gold. What's the point? You can only have so much stuff in this world, physical, materialistic. And then that takes me on to the management side. I witness too many people in positions of power and positions of responsibility who have, in my opinion, no right to be in their positions. I look, and there's, for instance, the people I work with and me, we all have our own ideas and stuff, and you think, well, actually, any of us could step into those roles, because we all have ideas of our own that are often better than the ones that are implemented. So the issue then becomes the reason why don't people who should have these opportunities have these opportunities? And for the most part, it's the lack of experience. But how do you get the experience? If no one's going to give you the opportunity to gain that experience, it doesn't take long to learn something. I'm especially a quick learner. So let's say I didn't know something, but I had all the inner skills to do it. I'd only need someone to invest in me for a couple of weeks or maybe a month, and then I'll be flying. But people don't want to take that opportunity, take that risk. So who do they hire? What I'm noticing, the leadership in a lot of companies are ex-military. And that bothers me, because I've got a different mentality to the military ideology. In the military, you follow command, you adhere to the rules, no answering back, no freedom of expression, no independence. It's just the complete opposite to me. So I clash a lot, because I don't agree with it. I'm not a mindless robot, and I will never allow anyone to tie me into that. So the problem is, people who are ex-officers and captains, I don't know what all the terminology is, they're used to having subordinates. They're used to having people below them who don't answer back. They're used to just talking to their other officers and not talking to I don't know what you call them now, the squad. And that's the same thing at works, because management have a hard time relating to the people that they're their employees. And I just find it baffling. They can talk well amongst themselves, but they can't talk to the people. So, for instance, they barely ever introduce themselves. And it's like, I ain't introducing myself. What, you're the one in charge. You introduce yourself to me, or we don't even communicate, And I don't care. Quite honestly, I don't care. But it just bothers me that these people are in positions of power, because it tells me that for me to get that same opportunity, I'd have to enroll in the army, be prepared to mercilessly kill people, which isn't something I'd have any interested in doing. That's not to say the army are bad or anything, because it takes a lot of courage and guts to do what they do. But why should I have to enroll myself in such a lifestyle just to have that opportunity that they have? Because obviously they do that, then they come out, and then they have all these wonderful opportunities. Whereas the rest of us that aren't doing that, we don't get those opportunities, and yet we're better at communicating. We have just as good ideas as they have. And I would say we've built a better culture, a better working culture than currently exists. So it bothers me. It really does bother me that most of the people I see are ex-military, and I just think, where's the fairness in all this? It just doesn't make sense. It's like, these are not leaders. They might have ideas to implement things, but leaders inspire and they actually lead. These people, it frustrates me in the sense that they're not leaders at all. They think a lot of themselves, but if you ask the people beneath them anything about them, they won't be too inspired. So that's that. I don't know if I touched on social media. don't know if I touched on social media because that's one thing I wanted to discuss, because I was talking to someone recently about social media and the fact that it's probably one of the hardest things to leave. It took me so many attempts at deactivate, reinstate, deactivate, reinstate. But every time I returned, I felt more and more detached from it. I didn't enjoy it until the point where it felt natural to leave. I think when you build something, you create, it's hard to let it go. It's hard to let it go. So it's hard to leave social media when we've put that time and effort into creating. We see the statistics, the numbers. It's just like, what a waste if we don't. But it's actually more soul destroying doing something you don't enjoy. And often we feel like we need to do it because others need us. But our happiness is far more important than any of that. If we're miserable, we can't help make other people happy, for starters. And second of all, who's going to make us happy if we're not? So we have to prioritize ourselves. We're taught not to be selfish, but we have to be selfish in some regards. We have to be selfish with our happiness. Effectively, why should someone have the time and energy for themselves and then they have your time and energy when you have nothing? It doesn't make sense. We're all responsible for our own lives. And if someone else is miserable, it's not our job to fix them. You can show them the light, I think, which I've learned through life experience. You can help people just by being yourself and being happy within yourself, because it can show people that that's possible. It's not a case if you have to pick someone up and do it all for them. They have to see it for themselves, and then they can start working on themselves. And I think that's far more powerful. So we don't have to lose ourselves for a cause. But it's okay to let things go, and it's okay to end cycles. We don't have to continue doing the same things that maybe they don't make us happy anymore, they don't make us proud. You can acknowledge it and move on to the next chapters, because my life's all about chapters. So that means when a chapter closes, some of the things I created stop. But it usually means I've gone on to elevate into something better and more remarkable and something more invigorating, something that really inspires me. But it also means sometimes we let people go. It's not a case, again, I'm not talking to you anymore. It's not that at all. It's just we naturally just evolve and go on our own path. And as time goes by, we talk less and less, So it means not everyone comes on our journey. It's okay to have a past memory. It's okay that was a chapter, or maybe there's a few chapters where we had some certain people in them. It's not so bad when they're not there on the next stage. It means we're all on a different journey. Some people evolve, some people don't, but we all literally, it's like being on a bus. We're all going to go on a bus, but sometimes we're going to get off the bus, and then we're going to get on a different bus, and they're going to go and continue where they're going. It's not disrespect to go on your own little journey. It's not a disrespect at all. And I think that's where that sort of the life and death thing comes in as well. So many people get attached to the idea of people and life to the point where they're scared of death. And it's like, if you can understand life, you're not scared of death. It's often the people who didn't make the most of their life and they have so many regrets, and they don't really understand their reason for being here and what they're doing. So then they're scared, terrified of the idea of the end, because they never figured it out. But I think once you figure life out and you understand what your calling is to an extent, and you continue and you strive towards the best that you can do, there's no fear of death. You've done all you can. So for me personally, I feel like my life it has meaning. I feel like everything I've been through has been a life lesson to help guide people and share my story, and it continues to make me stronger. My life is never easy. I'm continuing in having obstacles in front of me, which sometimes you think, well, that's a bit unfair. It's my time to have a break. It's a bit exhausting now. I'm getting fed up. Have them moments regularly. But I can see the bigger picture, and I know why. Because how can you help heal people and share your story, journey, if you don't go through it yourself? So there's like a beauty in the chaos, but it's important not to waste time. And I think that's why I rapidly achieve an awful lot. Now people come to me sometimes, I don't know how you achieve all that, and you're incredibly hard on yourself. You don't even give yourself enough credit. It's like, I don't have time. I don't have time to give myself enough credit, because there's so much I should have done or I want to do, that it's critical that I get it done. So yeah, I'm hard on myself because there's still so much more I want to achieve, and in my eyes, it should have already been done. So even though someone else might say you've already done so much this year and last year and the past 5 years, yeah, but I've still got more to do. So in my eyes, it pretty much should have been done. So I am hard in that sense. But the whole point really is, when we get to the end, hopefully we achieved the most we could. Because I see life as we come back and we've got so much soul growth to do. if we waste this life, then we're going to have to take many more lives. And I'm someone who likes to streamline. So if I could do as much in this life, then I know I don't have to keep coming back to learn lessons. And that's the big part of it, really. So it's kind of like, let's achieve as much as we possibly can in this lifetime to save future lifetimes of doing the same repeated cycle. So if someone's a slow learner and they live amongst chaos, they never grow, never evolve, they're going to have these same experiences over and over and over again in so many lifetimes. And it's going to be quite exhausting. Yeah, I'd rather just achieve it all now. So that's really what drives me on to sort of be the best version, but also complete what I start, build towards something great. Then when my time comes to an end, I'll acknowledge what I did and think, you did something there. We won't achieve everything we want to achieve because it's impossible, especially if someone with multiple goals and dreams and always adding the next one onto the list, really. But I'd say if I look at what I've done now and I had a moment to stop and said, I'd be proud of it. I'd say, yeah, you know what, you did something. At least you did something with your time in life, you know. Yeah, so I don't have a fear. For me, it was like, especially when I did the first book. For me, for the first book, it was, you know, if it all ended now, I'm proud. I did something, and I continue to do something, and I think that's where our pride comes. If you gave me all the gold in the world and you took my projects that I create and everything I do and you put them next to each other, I don't care about the gold. What's that going to do for me? It's going to buy me a few material possessions, maybe attract the wrong people, you know, people who just want to leech off that success. Or would you rather have the personal successes, the things you created? I call it moments of magic. If I didn't do it, it wouldn't exist. It was through sheer inspiration and the magic that made that. It's far more remarkable than money, and that's why I continue creating, even though don't see the success, because I've taken my way itself off of social media because I absolutely hate social media. It exhausts me, and I feel like I'm doing something I don't want to do just because I need to. You know, that bothers me a lot. Effectively, if someone likes my content and it means enough to them, they will share it, and then if they enjoy social media, it'll go viral somewhere, won't it? Or maybe it won't. But the point is, I don't need to do the social media aspect because other people will end up doing it for me if it means something to them. And it may come as a surprise if people are talking about it, because I know? I wouldn't know because I'm not there. You know? So I think that's quite remarkable in itself, and that's a wonderful surprise, isn't it? If people are talking about what you create and what you do, and you don't even know about it. But yeah, there's a lot of topics on my mind. I regularly walk around and I go, oh, damn, I've got to talk about that. I'm going to have to write about that. There was another topic I was going to write about on my blog, but I haven't got round to it. But it's more about children. I did write in one of my books. I think it was Heal Your Mind to Free Your Soul. It was about children and sort of how we raise them. Don't put too much weight on them. Allow them the room to breathe and make mistakes. How can we expect them to be perfect when we never give them consistency? You know, if a child sort of tries to learn one way and then you try and tell them something else, how can they don't know if they're coming or going. There was a post I was going to create on that because I think it's important that we put a plan in place to show that this is really what a healthy child should be. You know, it's not how they should be, it should be how we educate them and how we give them the tools, really, to be able to grow and evolve. It's not a case of give them a rule book and tell them do this, do that. That's not going to inspire happiness. That's not going to let them grow into being independent people. Just mindless robots, and children tend to grow and then make the same mistakes their parents did. So if we make less mistakes, our children will be stronger. So my daughter is incredibly remarkable. She's better than me, incredibly. You know, she has far more compassion than I have. Lights up a room. She's cheeky, but she's incredibly respectful. So she's funny but respectful. I love everything about who she is and can't wait to see what she does in the future. But you know, I've always given her that love and compassion, you know, and that room to be her. You know, she knows I have her back, and It's okay to make mistakes. You're not going to be perfect. But she knows all I really care about is her happiness. So if she's happy, I'm happy. If she's sad, it makes me mad. In terms of who made you sad. If she's emotional, I allow her to be emotional. I don't try to control her emotions. So if you've got something to say, you can say it. If you don't want to talk right now, you don't have to talk right now. If you're writing in your journal or you're writing anything, I don't need to see it. So I allow her that space and that independence. She doesn't need to have me obsessing over things. But she knows I'm here when she needs me too. So yeah, I love who she is. I know I've played a big role in it. But I would argue that her personality is still better than my personality. Yeah, she makes me incredibly proud. And yeah, I've been proud from the moment she was born. I enjoyed playing with her. I enjoyed um, encouraging her, watching her crawl, watching her stand. First words, and then just watching her manners grow. She'd be polite. Of course, as children are children, they push boundaries, but she never truly pushed them. Really, she's always been remarkable. And I've always tried to embrace just teaching her, making sure she has manners, but don't let people walk over you either. So sometimes maybe she speaks up too much, a bit like I do. Piss a few people off. But I think it's important I allow her that freedom, because if I try and suppress her, then she won't speak her mind, and I need her to be strong enough to do that. So, but I know when she says something, she means it. There's a need for it. She's not someone that's just going to be spiteful. In fact, that's against who she is. Very compassionate of vulnerable, especially children. I think that's quite endearing. But yeah, it's her charm, her personality, her manners. Yeah, I love who she is. I think I've done a pretty good job. But yeah, anyway.